Hello, and welcome to today's episode of our English Learning Podcast. I'm so happy you're joining me today. We're going to talk about something that every English learner faces at some point: staying motivated. Learning English, or any language for that matter, can be a long and sometimes difficult journey. There are days when you feel excited and confident, but then there are other days when everything feels hard and it's easy to lose motivation. If that sounds familiar, don't worry, you're not alone. Today, I want to share with you some of the things that have helped me stay motivated during my own language learning journey. So, let's get into it. Let me start by sharing a little about my own experience. When I first began learning English, I was really excited. I wanted to improve my speaking, listening, reading, and writing. But after a few months, I began to hit a wall. I started feeling like I wasn't making much progress. I couldn't remember all the new vocabulary I had learned, and I felt frustrated with my pronunciation. Some days, I didn't feel like practicing at all, and I wanted to give up. Have you ever felt that way? I'm sure you have. It's normal. But it's also important to recognize that feeling unmotivated is part of the process. Every language learner goes through it. So, what did I do to overcome this? Well, the first thing that really helped me was remembering why I started. I had to remind myself of the reasons I wanted to learn English in the first place. Was it for travel? For work? To make new friends? Whatever your reason is, it's important to keep that in mind. When I felt down, I would think about the opportunities that learning English would bring me. Whether it was traveling to new countries, reading books in English, or understanding my favorite movies better, I would think about how amazing it would be to reach those goals. Another thing that really helped me stay motivated was setting small, achievable goals. When I first started learning English, I had big dreams. I wanted to be fluent quickly, but as I got deeper into my studies, I realized that fluency would take time. Instead of focusing on the big picture, I began to break down my goals into smaller, more manageable tasks. For example, instead of saying, I want to speak English fluently, I would set a goal like, I will learn 10 new words today, or I will listen to an English podcast for 15 minutes. These smaller goals were much easier to accomplish, and when I achieved them, it made me feel proud. This helped me stay focused and motivated. It's important to celebrate your small wins. This brings me to the next point: celebrating progress. Often, when we're learning a language, we focus too much on what we still can't do. We think, I still can't speak fluently, or I don't know enough vocabulary. But it's important to stop and look at how far you've come. Look at the progress you've made. Maybe you can understand more English now than when you first started. Maybe you can hold a simple conversation with a friend in English. These are big achievements, and you should be proud of them. I remember the first time I had a conversation with someone in English without stopping every few seconds. It was a small step, but it felt huge to me. Don't forget to celebrate moments like that. Next, let's talk about making learning fun. One of the things I realized is that if learning English feels like a chore, it's easy to lose motivation. But if you make it fun, it's easier to stay motivated. For example, I started listening to podcasts and watching TV shows in English about topics I really liked. Instead of forcing myself to study grammar books all the time, I found ways to practice English through things I enjoy. I listened to podcasts about travel, watched cooking shows, and even started playing video games in English. This made learning so much more interesting and enjoyable. Another thing that helped was mixing up my learning methods. I didn't stick to just one type of study. Some days I practiced listening, other days I worked on speaking, and sometimes I would write in a journal. By changing things up, I kept my learning fresh and exciting. I also started using language learning apps, which made practicing English feel like a game. The key here is to find what works for you. Everyone has their own style of learning, and it's okay to experiment and try different things. The more variety you have, the less likely you are to get bored. Sometimes, it's easy to lose motivation when you don't see immediate results. Patience is really important when it comes to language learning. When I first started learning English, I wanted to speak perfectly right away. But as I kept going, I learned that language learning is a long-term process. It's like building a house. At first, you only see the foundation, but over time, the walls start to rise, and eventually, you can see the full house. So, don't be too hard on yourself. Remember that progress takes time, and even if you don't see it immediately, you're improving. One thing that kept me motivated was having a language partner or study buddy. Having someone to practice with is a huge help. Whether it's a friend, a classmate, or someone you meet online, having a person to talk to in English can make a big difference. I found that practicing with someone else kept me accountable. We would set goals together, and it was much more fun than studying alone. Plus, it helped me feel less nervous about making mistakes. After all, the goal is to learn, and mistakes are part of that process. Speaking of mistakes, let's talk about being kind to yourself. It's easy to get frustrated when you make a mistake. I know I did, especially when I couldn't remember the right word in a conversation, or when I mispronounced something. But over time, I learned that making mistakes is completely normal. In fact, it's a sign that you're learning. The important thing is to not give up after you make a mistake. I started reminding myself that each mistake was a chance to improve, and instead of getting upset, I would learn from it. This mindset shift made a big difference in how I felt about my progress. One more tip I want to share is getting outside your comfort zone. This can be a tough one, but it's essential if you want to stay motivated. At the beginning, I only spoke English when I was alone, practicing in front of a mirror or talking to myself. But I knew that in order to improve, I had to start using English in real-life situations. So, I started having small conversations with native speakers, whether it was at work, in a store, or online. At first I was nervous, but the more I did it, the easier it became. Push yourself to speak, even when it's uncomfortable, because that's when you really start to improve. And remember, the more you practice, the more confident you'll feel. Now, I want to talk about finding inspiration. Sometimes, when I felt like giving up, I looked for stories of people who had successfully learned English. I watched YouTube videos or read blogs from people who had started at the same level as me and had made huge improvements. These stories inspired me to keep going. If they could do it, so could I. Maybe you can find some stories or follow other learners who share their experiences. Their success can help you stay motivated and remind you that you can achieve your goals too. So, let's review the main points that can help you stay motivated while learning English. Remember why you started. Think about your reasons for learning English. Set small, achievable goals. Break down big goals into smaller steps. Celebrate your progress. Be proud of the small wins. Make learning fun. Find enjoyable ways to practice, like through podcasts or TV shows. Mix up your learning methods. Change things up to keep it interesting. Be patient. Language learning takes time. Find a study buddy or language partner. Practicing with someone else can keep you accountable. Be kind to yourself. Don't let mistakes discourage you. Learn from them. Get out of your comfort zone. Practice speaking in real situations. Find inspiration. Look for success stories that motivate you. Learning English is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be ups and downs, but if you stay patient, consistent, and motivated, you will improve. Just remember that progress takes time, and every step forward counts. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I hope you found these tips helpful, and I encourage you to keep going, even when things feel tough. If you have any questions or would like to share your own tips for staying motivated, feel free to reach out. I would love to hear from you. Keep practicing and keep believing in yourself. You've got this. Take care and good luck with your English learning journey.